Huh? I said it's on Facebook and YouTube. It's on the new. It's in the newsletter today.
Okay.
It's on Facebook and YouTube. It's on the new. It's in the newsletter today. We're getting it on Facebook and YouTube. It's on the new. It's in the newsletter today. We're getting it on Facebook.
Hang on. I think it started when you went live, Chuck. I think that's when the echo started kicking in.
I'm going to try something.
We have 9 people on. Is the echo gone?
Yes.
Okay. All right, well, I'm just going to have to use my headphones. Hang on. Welcome to those of you that showed up. As you can tell, we're totally disorganized.
That's live television, right, Chuck? That's what happened.
UK.
Right.
Wait a minute. Are we still getting an echo?
No echo.
Hey, everybody out there, you're getting an echo?
Nope.
I am hearing some music in the background. Is
Yeah, I hear.
I have a
somebody's
clock.
fancy clock.
I have a clock chiming.
Okay, that might be what it was.
It's Westminster chiming 11 o'clock, so it'll be done in a moment. It's done.
I'm getting an echo. But everybody, this is me learning again, all over again. So let's talk about who's here. And if anybody out there listening is getting an echo, please let me know. I'm getting an echo of myself. That's it. That's
our RV mentor who is in here now is saying he's not hearing an echo, and I'm not hearing it either, Chuck. So I think
I'm not.
I think we're okay, as long as it doesn't drive you crazy.
I just shouldn't be hearing it. I've never heard that before. Okay. Well, Roger, go ahead and introduce yourself.
Okay, I'm Roger Marble. I'm right now in about 10 miles east of Akron, Ohio. Surprise, surprise. Worked about 50 years as a tire design and forensic engineer. Got started, well, I've had RVs for, I don't know, 30, 40, maybe longer than that, long time. I've had a Class A truck camper, a couple of Class Cs. My parents had a 13-foot Ace made in Maine back in the 60s. But I got into car racing when I was an engineer, had the money, could afford it, did pretty well, sports car racing. And after I retired, I went to an FMCA event in Vermont, and they were, the normal. Hey, my refrigerator doesn't work. How do you make the furnace work? All the normal RV stuff. But there was no official presentation on tires. And I'm listening, and I checked with the organizers and asked, do you want something on tires? They said, yeah, okay, give it a try. And I then went to another one in Bowling Green, Ohio, gave an hour-long presentation, met the Goulds, and had a good time. And it's now I'm giving 4 hour-long seminars on tires, slightly different topics each one. And I also do genealogy, because I don't have enough to do in my life.
Roger, let's come back to that right now. Let's just let everybody else just say hi first.
Oh, sorry.
Tony, go ahead.
Well, hello, everybody. You may have
spotted some of my reviews on RV travel of RVs or gadgets or some other things, I am a writer who loves the RV space, and I've had new RVs, I've had vintage RVs, and we also publish a weekly podcast called Stressless Camping. And a few other stories. A bunch of people, you might see my name all over the place. People buy articles from me. So that's me. And I used to work at an RV dealership, so there's part of my background.
Are you still doing that column for the villages down there in Florida?
Yeah,
Still going?
yeah.
Good.
Yeah, print and magazines and websites, and
Yeah.
I keep my keyboard busy.
Yeah, good. Keith, go ahead.
Right. Good to meet everyone online, joining us from wherever. I'm Keith Ward, and I am probably the least RV specific of this group, I would imagine. I do a lot of writing. I'm a writer and a journalist from way back. Writing is kind of my thing. I've worked with RV Travel. I've written for them some in the past, going to be doing some more. One of my focuses now is a new newsletter on Substack that I started called oldpocalypse.com. Kind of a intriguing name for that reason. I'm in the process of looking at RVs now. I've been thinking about buying them for a number of years, and I actually had a deposit on an Oliver travel trailer a few years ago. That didn't work out, and so now I'm kind of looking at Sprinter vans. I'm looking at Class C. I'm looking at kind of where I'm going to go next with my first RV. Actually, one of the reasons I wanted to be here, and I'm really pleased that Chuck invited me on, was that there's a lot of crossover in the RV community with the older, community, right? A lot of RVers tend to be seniors or people approaching that, just like me, and so I was looking forward to meeting everyone, and because we do have a number of things in common, and looking forward to this chat very much today, Chuck.
Great. Yeah, that echo, I should have remembered. I had a Facebook page opened somewhere else, and this is delayed. So I was getting, picking up so everybody's introducing themselves. Here we got Bill. He's going from Montana to Idaho this morning. Are you driving across the interstate? That's if you're going from Missoula to Idaho, that's not very far. I've driven from Missoula to Seattle more than a couple times. Bill, Dale from Central. Are you getting smoke in Wisconsin? I haven't looked at our survey yet today to see if our poll that we did, we asked people if they were involved with the oppressive heat or the that horrible smoke. And that I didn't realize, but those fires up there in Canada are not being put out. They're in very remote areas, and they're just letting them burn. So as long as those winds keep blowing down toward the northeast, it's going to continue. Keith, are you seeing the smoke here in Maryland, right?
I was just going to say, exactly. I'm in the mid-Atlantic, and we've had most of this week, we've had code orange and code red alerts. So I haven't, one of the things I do a lot, as you know, is I ride my bike a lot, and I love being outside, and haven't been able to ride outside. I've had to ride in my basement because of the unhealthy smoke from Canada. And like you say, it shows no signs of stopping. It's cloudy here today and looking ugly yet again. We think it's causing rain because the particles, the moisture is sort of grabbing onto the particles and causing rain here that we wouldn't have had if it wasn't for the fires in Canada. So that was a little bit of interesting weather effects of that too.
Wow. Here's Emily, my daughter, and our editor of 6 years. We can't hear you.
Uh-oh.
There you are.
Yeah, you should. Yeah. Good morning, everyone. Afternoon,
Morning.
wherever you are. No, morning.
She represents the younger element of the and the fashionable element of the RV community these days. When Emily came to work with us, Emily is, first of all, has been an RVer since she was, I think, She first came out with us when she was probably not even a few months old. And then she went on a press trip with us on behalf of the RVIA back when we were influencers. My then wife and Emily and me, and we spent 4.5 months on the road talking to TV stations and newspapers about how great it was to travel with a kid. And Emily, this little 2.5-year-old, and she had wireless mic on her, and she just talked and talked and talked and talked. And I thought probably she was the most, other than the sitcom people, Mary Kay and Ashley or whatever they were, she was probably the most child on television at the time. But anyway, so she and I have done so many road trips. When she went to college in New York, we drove back to New York, didn't we, Emily?
Yep, me took 10 days, drove across.
Yeah.
5 days coming back, but
yeah. So we've she's been on so many. I've got so many pictures of her, and we went down with the Southwest at least a few times, huh?
Oh yeah, several times.
Yeah, and
Southwest, everywhere.
So what happened when you came back here 6 years ago, Emily? The RVing was still not particularly trendy among the young crowd, was it?
No, I mean, definitely not. It's been about, we said 6 years now. And I remember when I came back, we were talking about getting more younger people involved, maybe, looking into this whole van life thing, because it was just kind of starting back then. Vloggers on YouTube were a thing, but not anywhere like they are now. Influencers didn't exist really. And it's wild to see what's changed in such a short amount of time. Yeah.
Yeah, it's all your friends want RVs all of a sudden. It's Tony, are you shuffling papers?
Oh, I am. Sorry.
Gosh, Tony, stop working so hard.
Hey, Emily, let me ask you, is it still cool to be an RVer? Remember during the pandemic, everyone wanted an RV, and now that all of that momentum is slowing, I'm kind of wondering if the perception of the RV lifestyle is changing, if there's kind of the rush to be that way, to be one of the cool people on the road and just blogging and all that, if it still has the same sort of pull that it had just even a few years ago.
I think so. I think the van life thing is still very desirable. Doing things like converting an ambulance into an RV is still a big thing. People, I know, Tony, you've done some articles in the past about like converting cargo trailers and that type of thing. And I think that's still very popular. I sort of wonder if kind of the influencer part of RV life and van life is dwindling just because there's so much competition. I can't imagine it's not impossible to even want to begin that anymore. So I think that part's dwindling, but I think the urge to get out there on the road is still there for sure.
And it seems that the Class B market has not tumbled as much as the rest of the market. I don't know who's buying $200,000 vans, but someone is.
It's true. And I mean, you notice it in RV shows. I mean, the Class Bs are swarming. You have to wait to get into them. I mean, there's definitely an interest, a curiosity about them. Even with the older crowd and the longtime RVers,
Well, my sister wants to sell her house and move into a Class B.
Nice.
And she's close to my age, so I think you're right. I think it has all the, all the Instagram images and TikTok and all of the social quote unquote influencers are really pushing that market still.
Right.
Yeah, I've got a copy of the Wall Street Journal from last week, and there's a story about, and this makes me wonder what's ahead. There's a story that's titled "Jet Makers Swamped by Orders as Travel Demand Takes Off," and it's all about the number of people that are flying, and these orders that are this India airline has ordered 500 jets. It doesn't say whether from Boeing or Airbus or wherever, but they're not going to be delivered till 2030. Imagine that. That's how far the backlog is. But I just wonder, Emily, your friend went to, tell us about your friend that went to Rome. What did she find there?
Yeah, I had two friends just in Italy traveling around, and she said it was pretty much impossible to do anything. She said to see the Sistine Chapel, they had to wait hours, the Colosseum. I said, did you have fun in Italy? And she said, well, yeah, but we couldn't really do too much, and the crowds kind of ruined it. And, it was just yesterday when doing today's newsletter, writing about the lines to get into Yosemite. And I mean, just travel across the board, international, domestic, whether you're a camper, whether you're a hiker, a day tripper, whatever. I mean, 4 hours to get into Yosemite and if you get there later than 9 a.m., you can't get in for the day. Like, that's crazy.
Yeah.
But yeah, I did
So
feel
that's what the lines are. Is that your car in line is 4 hours? Is that
Yeah.
really?
Yeah, Yosemite hasn't implemented a timed entry system. And I think for all the people, sometimes myself included, kind of poo-pooing the entry system, I lost the word.
Yeah.
Just implementing entry systems. People who don't like them and are trying to go to Yosemite kind of see the advantages of them, because you're waiting 4 hours in line to get in. And the parking lots, I mean, the photos of the parking lots are crazy.
We went to Rocky Mountain National a couple of years ago, and we had the timed entry. And other than the surprise, oh, we got to get this timed entry. Okay, well, we had a few days lead time, got it. And while there were a lot of cars in Rocky Mountain, there was parking available in, the normal places in the park. So I think the timed entry is a reasonable solution. It doesn't cost you anything. You just have to sign up in advance.
Yeah.
I think it's probably, I don't know that when you get so many people, I don't know that there's any other option. It happens with everything once it becomes popular. When I was a kid growing up in LA, and I lived 20 miles from LA, and I lived in a rural town, Orange Groves, Walnut Groves, 4,000 people. And when my family left when I was 17, there were 70,000 people, and it was all paved over. And we used to go up to the mountains, San Bernardino Mountains, San Gabriel Mountains, which were just, I think the base of them was about 9 miles away. We went up there routinely. And then one day we went up and to go up for the day and have a picnic. And the road was, the highway patrol was there and the road was closed. They were, LA had grown too big, and this one road in this small area at the top couldn't take the people. So, I mean, it even started back then, but that's an example of this huge influx of people. But then I wonder are they going to go to Europe now? And we all know why they all came out during the pandemic was they couldn't do anything else.
And now there's some of those campgrounds, Chuck. I don't know about the national parks. Maybe they're still full, but I sent you an article last week from the Wall Street Journal also about all the unused spaces now in campgrounds. So people are making reservations. They're not going. And so these campgrounds are half empty, but other people can't get in because these spaces are reserved. And that seems like it's becoming a new problem. Now, RV Travel has written on things like this before, but I thought it was interesting that it's now starting to become more national news that this is going on,
Yeah.
Well, you look at things like that new camp scanner feature, and that's pretty neat for finding those last minute destinations.
Tell us about that, Tony. What's that?
Camp Scanner, which is something created by Joel Holland and Harvest Hosts, is you sign up for it and it seeks out the cancellations. And Joel, when I talked to him, I forgot, it was like Memorial Day weekend, and he still could find reservations at some of the really, A-list places because of cancellations. So it's, I think technology tends to find, once we have a problem as humans, we tend to solve it eventually. But I remember.
Sorry. keep going.
Oh no, going to Yosemite during COVID, where you had to get a time to get in, there was nobody there. It was fantastic, and I don't know if I would even go back again. But that was such a fantastic memory because it was empty. I mean, it was just a great trip. But now I think we seek out no longer the A-list, the top of list destinations, because you're right, they're just crowded, and I don't want to be around a bunch of people.
Emily?
I was just going to say that I think a bunch of kind of the apps and other platforms are implementing these kind of last minute reservations. I know the Dirt is doing their Dirt alerts now too, so you can put in whatever campground you're interested in, and they'll send you an alert if a space opens up for your desired dates. So, I mean, that's all great, but you also have to be in the area for those things, and that's where it gets a little complicated. So
yeah, you don't want to travel halfway across the country and cross your fingers and hope that you can get. That's true.
Right. Yeah.
It's I wonder about these sites like Spot Tonight and some other ones that will get you a last minute site. You pay in some way. I just wonder if what's going to happen if demand for spaces does go down. And right now this problem with people not showing up is a kind of a new thing, but everything's changed. And I'd say, I mean, how many months ago was it that we were still the lots were filled with RVs and then they were empty, and now they're all just full, and that just and the inflation, interest rates, and now there's who knows what's going to happen with all these cheap RVs out there that are going to start coming back because people don't want them or they're falling apart. And I don't know. I think it's going to be a very interesting time in the next year.
Chuck, I was driving my daughter back from Chicago back home to Maryland last Sunday, and on part of that route you go right through Indiana, right? So I went right through Elkhart, right? And most people probably know that's where the majority of RVs are made right now. And I was, so I was really paying attention to what the lots were looking like, and it was amazing how full they were with new RVs. And if it was a year ago, they would have been empty. I mean, lot after lot, just a ton of RVs sitting there, just rusting at this point. So it was kind of striking to be in the sort of epicenter of the RV manufacturing world and see it, see these things not moving and sitting on lots.
Well, you can get, I mean, correct me if I'm wrong, I'm not an expert on this, but I think from what I've heard, you can get an amazing deal right now. I mean, amazing deal on 2022 models because everybody is just trying to get them off those lots. And I've heard of the rebates and just the incredible sales going on right now for those.
Yeah, somebody said the other day, I think maybe it was Josh, the RV nerd who does just these great videos. He was talking about that, and he was saying that some dealers that he surveyed, 90% of what they had on the lots that was new were 2022. And look at the 24 models are coming out now. Sales in May. Somebody here, unidentified, said Facebook user said sales are down 40%. They're actually down 50% right now from last year. And I don't know what's happening in Elkhart. Facebook user, all lots.
In Elkhart, I've seen a lot of plant not shutdowns, but temporary closures, where they just aren't producing for chunks of time and a lot of the smaller dealers are running up against their flooring limits, and the flooring is how they finance their RVs. And I know a few of the smaller dealers that I've spoken with have no room left in their flooring, so they can't even buy anything new unless somebody buys the old stuff. And during COVID, they made these monster orders thinking, if I order a whole lot of these whatevers, then I will get priority when they get built. And now all of a sudden they're showing up, and it's like, uh-oh. And a lot of it are the stuff that the trend is changing there. Even the manufacturers, you see them starting to bring out more decontented and less expensive models.
I read somewhere the other day that some of the at least one company, maybe more, I don't know, one company was just putting a 24 label on an RV, but it was exactly the same as the 23. They didn't bother to change anything. I guess for the numbers. I mean, they're not going to be very many 24 model RVs out there come a few years from now, looking back.
No. Isn't it wild that I was just thinking about what you had just said about the airline industry and those 500 jets. It's wild that now the RV industry is taking breaks. The manufacturers are taking breaks from producing RVs, and the airline industry can't keep up. We've completely flip-flopped from 2020, 2021. It's wild.
Yeah.
I don't understand the RV industry. Just was crowing. They were so in the last few years, it was just like happy days are here again. And I don't know why they didn't kind of understand that this always happens. It's ups and downs. And who could imagine that in their wild imagination that these sales would continue like they are, especially with the creation of campgrounds lagging. And of course, now you've got glamping, and so many campgrounds are putting in cabins and tents or doing away with RVs altogether. I see KOA is just putting a huge emphasis on glamping now rather than camping. There's a lot more money in it. I think this is Dustin and Ashley at California RV Specialists in Stockton. You're welcome to come on if you want. I think I sent you a link. Camping World's buying is up to over it's got to be more than 200 locations, and they're going to be just buying so many distressed campgrounds here in the next year. You watch. I mean, every week we have a news item about Camping World buying somebody else.
And Blue Compass too.
Is that right?
Yeah, Blue Compass is on a tear as well.
And where are they, Tony?
I don't know where they're headquartered, but they're all of a sudden a relatively new chain that's just swallowing up a lot of the local dealerships. They bought the ones here in Albuquerque, the Aloha ones, and friends who have been longtime customers of the Aloha have said that now the service has just gone in the toilet, or in the black tank, as it were.
Service, something very interesting. I just got I get the weekly Wall Street Journal. That's all I get on Saturday. And the cover of one section today, I haven't read it yet, is that there's a shortage of auto technicians, and getting your car repaired is getting to be a huge problem. Yeah. So they're really looking for automotive technicians that make a lot more than RV technicians. We had a story, I think today's issue, Emily, about the what was that about? The service times have improved.
Yeah, actually quite dramatically since they did it. They compared it to last May 2022 to 2023. And the wait time was down 20 something days on average.
So that's probably half or something, right? I mean, it was
just about, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. But I know the last 2 times I've taken my car in, they haven't been able to fully complete the service because they're short-staffed.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. But on that note, I'm actually going to head out. I have a timed entry reservation with recreation. So
okay.
I'm going to go do that for the day. But it was nice to see all of you.
Yeah, you too.
Who's ever watching, thanks for coming. Nice to see all of you.
Yeah. Okay, Emily, thank you for showing up. And I'll be in touch.
Wanted to come save you if you were by yourself, blabbering away. Yeah, I didn't know it was going to be on.
I picked the wrong weekend to start this. I didn't even think about the fact that it was the holiday weekend and so many people would be away. But hey, it's all working out. So very good. So thanks for coming.
Nice to see you all. Enjoy your day. Enjoy your
weekend. Well.
Happy 4th,
have fun.
Thanks. Bye.
I got a comment on the Class C issue because our current one and our previous were Class Cs, and we lucked out both times. The first one was right after the crash of the market in 2008, and we got from a local dealer, and we think paid the dealer's cost because, you know, the market was down in 2008, and we saw similar models just years later still going for significantly more than what we paid. But we're happy with our C, and I don't know why people keep feeling, well, I've got to have a, 45-foot motorhome for two people.
Well, everybody's tastes are different. I mean, I've got a 32-foot, and that's too big for me. But we did live in it for 2 years, so it worked for that time. But for camping, I was happy with my Winnebago View 24-foot, which, I never had big ones, but each their own. I think the Class B thing will pass. They're so expensive for, per foot.
Yes.
They're nice, but get a Class C that has, if you're just going to do local camping trips, and a lot cheaper, a lot less expensive. Keith, you had an interesting thing you were talking about earlier about what was starting up today and about the RV connection. I thought that was pretty interesting.
Yes. So as I mentioned before, cycling is one of my passions. So I follow the world of professional cycling as almost no one else in America does. But even in America, we know one cycling event, don't we? That's the Tour de France. And Tour de France started today. It started in Spain and is going into France in a few days. But one of the things that was the connection there, you would wonder, well, what does bicycle racing have to do with RVs? Well, the Tour de France is hugely popular with RVers in that area. You can go, if you go on and watch television, watch the tour, any segment, so it's 21 stages is this bicycle race. And if you watch any stage, you will see RVs camped everywhere that these cyclists are riding, and especially on the mountain stages. So a little bit later in the tour, they start going up in the Pyrenees and the Alps, and it is lined with RVs and people waiting for the cyclists to go by. So I think it seems like everyone with an RV in the whole country goes out in the countryside, because it's nothing but RVs out there, bringing their bikes and riding around and waiting for, 2 minutes to see the peloton go by. So I just thought that was an interesting connection. And you, of course, Chuck, have covered this a number of years too.
I covered it for a couple of years, and with a buddy of mine back in the Lance Armstrong years, and when he won everything, and of course it was so popular then. But here's a picture I took up in one of the Alpe d'Huez, I believe, up in the Alps. My friend James and I, we camped at a ski. We couldn't get a place over here to stay, so we had to. We weren't in an RV. We stayed on the other side of the Alps, and we rode or maybe not the other side, but across the mountain from right here. And we rode a ski lift up to the top, and then we walked a ways and got the lift down here. But look at all those RVs that are camped out there for this particular stage. And those are pretty typical European motorhomes and RVs. They most of them have a single wheel in the back. They're not, they don't carry a lot of weight. They're pretty simple compared to ours. I suppose they have slide outs now. Back then, but I don't think they have anything like we do. But yeah, everywhere you go, there it is just, and the people camp on just fields along the way. They don't. It's not as. It's a lot easier to just go out into a farm field and set up, invite a bunch of your friends, and. But what a great way to see the race is just to go from stage to stage and park along the side.
It can be like a little moving city, can it? Yeah.
Oh, well, of course, it was being a journalist there was incredible experience just watching all the world media. It's the second largest sporting event in the world behind the World Cup soccer. And so I think there was sometimes 5, 6, 7, 800 of us in the press room at the same time, and they feed you very well. And of course, there's always wine and beer and pretty girls. And
it's a bucket list thing for me that I will do eventually, hopefully as early as next year. And I plan on renting an RV out there and kind of getting the whole experience. So
I think if anybody really wants to see what France, or if they're starting in Spain, where did they start today?
In the Basque country of Spain.
Okay.
So,
if anybody wants to see what France looks like, especially, watch the televised Tour de France, because they're right. A lot of it's from a motorcycle camera, and you see all the little villages they go through, and then the helicopters always following. So you get these beautiful vistas of the countryside. But it was certainly being there in an RV would be just wonderful.
Yeah. One of the best things about it, I've always thought, is seeing the country, because you mentioned the motorcycle shots. There's helicopters and drones now. There's all kinds of ways to see it, and they really promote that the landscape, the countryside, almost as much as the racing in a way, because everybody loves France and it's beautiful out there.
Yeah. Well, it's an amazing event to go and see. Every single street that comes into the race course has got a policeman there directing traffic. And then every community, they pay to host the morning get together, VIPs and whatnot, and the press is invited. And there's the local community makes food for the racers and the press. And then at night, they have to set up this whole press room the size of sometimes they're in like a basketball court would be too small. They need a bigger spot than that. But logistically, it's an amazing thing. But that's another subject. You want to ask us any tire questions, Roger?
Well, each of you, whether you got an RV or a car, when was the last time you checked the air pressure in your car?
I know I've checked mine fairly recently because I had a low tire, but.
So Roger, that's a really interesting question. Here's how I look at it, and this is probably wrong, which is why it's good that you're here. So the tire pressure management systems that seem to be on all cars now, I kind of rely on that to let me know how my tire is doing. So I basically don't check. So is that kind of a bad idea, just to kind of rely on that technology?
It's better than nothing. Mm-hmm. The reality is, for cars, the regulations and the way the cars are designed and tire inflation is set by car manufacturers, you have a fairly broad window of coverage. In other words, your pressure, you can be down a couple of PSI and you're still not overloading your tire. RVs, completely different thing. Cars start out with a 20 to 30% safety margin. I hate that term, but that's what people understand. Most RVs have 0 to maybe 10%. So you start out with 0%, margin. That's why you really need to, check your pressure. Your TPM is fine. And most TPMs, not all of them, but most of them, the low pressure can be set for, by the user. You can't do that in your car. But for most aftermarket units, which are what the RV community uses, you can set the low pressure warning. And on my blog and on my weekly on Chuck's, I have covered how to and the necessity of setting your own low pressure warning level, so you don't want to overload the tire ever.
Are they common now in RVs to be built in the TPMS kind of system like they have for cars, or are RV manufacturers still not really doing that?
I have only heard of a couple of RVs coming with TPMs as part of the vehicle, and they are the higher end units. They present separate issues if you've got that, because what you do is you lose the self-programming advantage, I consider. But so yeah, most RVs have no tire pressure monitoring system. You go to a convention, you'll see 4 or 5 different vendors selling aftermarket units, and they all are almost identical, and certainly almost identical in their function. And you just look, you see one, you've seen them all pretty much, and they have a little monitor, and you can set the pressure warning levels, which I recommend. And yes, then you don't have to get out every morning down on your knees, with the pressure gauge. And to me, that's one of the big selling points. You should, and for years, it has been said you should check your tires every morning of a travel day. But if you got a TPM, you don't need to do that because does it all the time.
Roger, that was such a joke. Who the heck? I've been RVing for a long time. I watch people come and go. I can't remember seeing somebody go out and check their tire pressure in the morning. And yet these experts say, "Oh, you should check your tires every day." Come on, that's like saying you should. I don't know what else, but it's brush your teeth for 20 minutes every day. Nobody's going to do it,
Hey, I just said this is what was said you should do.
I know, but come on, it's people hear that and it's like, it was like when I was back in college in the old days, and it was about, the evils of reefer madness, the thing about marijuana. Oh, if you take one puff of marijuana, you're going to be a heroin addict next month. Everybody goes, come on, that's just not true.
Well, that's why the advantage of TPM systems, and they'll pay for themselves. They don't wear out. Yeah, you might have to buy some $2 batteries, but the system, you buy it, it's yours for life. Mm-hmm. A couple of the, I know at least one vendor has lifetime warranty on everything except the little watch batteries that go in the sensors that screw on the end of the valve caps.
Roger, I think when we're talking here and we're saying RV, we're talking about motorhomes, aren't we? And that represents right now about 12% of the RVs being sold are motorhomes. The rest are trailers. What about
trailers too?
tires?
Trailers are more susceptible to issues than motorhomes. All right, you're driving a motorhome.
Yeah.
You get a nail, the tire goes down. There's a good probability you will feel it. Okay, yeah. Before it comes apart. If it's in the trailer, a few years ago, I was at a campground and I hear this screeching sound, and I listened to it for a couple of minutes. And what it is an RV trailer with no tire. Tire's gone. And the guy's just pulling, and it's the steel wheel running down the road.
Oh, geez.
And he pulls into the campground. And I'm not sure if he realized that the tire was gone. He certainly didn't feel it. So he lost the tire, destroyed the wheel, tore up his RV because they didn't want to spend the $300 for a system.
Right.
He does $5,000 worth of damage. You spend $300 and the operating cost is $10 a year, maybe, for batteries.
Yeah. Nothing.
You'd only need to prevent one tire failure, and it's paid for forever.
I'm seeing more and more travel trailers now coming with TPMS systems, but typically those are the ones that also put the Goodyear tires on rather than the explodey, we call them Maypop tires, because there's a cultural reference that I think is
Yes.
not kind. But
yes, there's the interesting thing about that cultural rep. It would be like saying RVs built in Indiana are crap, because every RV that I've ever heard of that ever had a problem was built in Indiana. Therefore, the reason for bad RVs is the state of Indiana. No, there's a
Right.
correlation and causation are not the same.
Yeah.
Right. But I am seeing more TPMS systems in travel trailers, and we have
Yep.
one, and we always, it's also nice if it gets hot and you can see how hot the tire is. And it's interesting, you can spot, and sometimes how the sun is on one side of the trailer
Yes.
and obviously not the other, and how much hotter the tires are on that
Yep.
side. So
Yep.
that
it's
fascinates me.
interesting. And I know that when you first get them, there's a tendency to drive down the road and you're looking at the monitor every 32 seconds, which you don't
It
need
has
to
an
do.
audible. Yeah.
But yeah,
here's
trailers actually need it more than motorhomes, but all RVs, the data that's out there, which is somewhere in the high side of 20,000 data points, says half the RVs on the highway have a tire overloaded or which is underinflated.
Oh,
half of them.
yeah.
Wow.
That doesn't surprise me. You know what's funny to me, and it's not funny, but you know what I'm saying.
Yeah.
Are the tires that are on the spare tire carrier on the back of travel trailers, particularly, just exploding?
Yep.
They've never seen the road. They're just sitting. I don't know if I can share my screen, but I have a whole collection of those images. They're just on the spare tire carrier, and boom.
Before I
On
retired,
the carrier they explode, even not being used.
Yeah. Why?
Yeah, they've never seen the road.
Why does
All
that
right.
happen? Why does that happen?
Because
one of the last things
they're
I did
terrible
before I
tires.
retired is I figured out why, and I could duplicate that in the laboratory.
Well, tell us.
Well, what you've got is, it's called interply shear. That's, if you go to my blog, rvtiresafety.net, on the left side, look up interply shear, and I've got the technical explanation for it. But the easy thing to do is, when you're shopping for tires for your RV trailer, read the material list on the sidewall. All tires have it. They will tell you the number of layers in the sidewall, number of layers of steel in the tread, and if it doesn't say nylon in addition to steel in the tread, I'm inclined to not recommend that brand. I can't tell you they're bad, but I would certainly prioritize having nylon listed in the tread area.
But so they explode though because, did I miss something there?
Well, all right. A radial construction, okay, has the cords running from the wheel on one side up across under the tread and down to the other side. All right, that's this path of the reinforcing material. That wants to be round like a balloon. But the steel in the tread is what makes the tread area flat. Otherwise, you'd have just these round things.
Mm.
Well, there's forces internal to the structure, interply shear, that are always there just to make it a radial tire. Now, normally you're using the tire, and after a few years, you wear the tire out and you buy new tires. But I would say probably any radial tire that's been out for a few years, detailed examination, we can find the initiation of a crack. Tires never repair themselves. The crack just grows. Now, the spare on the bumper of a rear of an RV trailer is in the sun. You mentioned the heat. You're baking the tire. You're baking the life out of the tire by not protecting it. And the protection comes from things like tire covers. I've harped on tire covers, the advantage of just shielding sun. Now, it isn't the UV that kills tires. I'm on record as saying in 40 years working when I was doing design work, I never saw a tire fail due to UV. Yeah, the sidewall can look ugly, but I've never seen a tire fail strictly from UV. I have seen hundreds and hundreds and maybe thousands of tires fail due to heat exposure.
Well, wow. That's
news you can use, right? So people watching now have gotten some valuable information from this chat today.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
I think I forgot to record it, so it's gone. It's going to be gone. I'm glad we didn't, somebody didn't support this and give us money so they could have it, because we would have. I did that once.
Sounds like an upcoming article for RV Travel, doesn't it?
I was doing we were playing around with a little studio years ago, and we locally here in the Seattle area, and we interviewed the city candidates for city council and mayor, and of course I forgot to hit the recording button on the guy who was going to become the mayor. So he spent an hour with us, and I said, oops. Well,
I had a podcast guest that I had spent almost a year trying to get, and I forgot to hit record, and I had to call it back and say, any chance we could do it over? And they were kind and did, but that was, so now I always have 2 recordings going.
2 recordings. Oh, that's a good idea. Well, we're getting ready to do going to do an interview of the presidential candidates for FMCA, the Family Motor Coach Association. So I'm sort of practicing, but I want to do these every Saturday. I'm not sure who's going to be on to host every time, but I don't see why not. This is when we have the most people on the website. At any time today, rvtravel.com will have in the morning a couple thousand people on at once. So I figured
hey Chuck, sorry,
people.
I apologize for interrupting you. Kevin Manning was saying, I'm wondering if he could ask Roger a question.
Where did you see? Sure, that's comments. Yeah.
In the comment there.
Go for it. Go for it. Yeah.
Okay, that's in comments because I'm not seeing.
Okay. I think they're probably typing now, Roger.
Yeah.
It might show up here in just a minute.
While we're waiting, just to let you know, if people go to rvtravel.com and go to maintenance and repair section, there are blogs talking about or posts talking about the Enterprise Shear, May of 22, October of 18, July of 18, February of 18. So there's a lot of tire stuff on RV Travel if you don't want to go to my blog.
I think they could just type that in, spell it out in the search bar at top and probably find all those. How do you spell it?
Yes, they can. Well, you can do that. You go to maintenance, type in, I don't know, does the search bar go through the maintenance? I know the maintenance.
Go through everything where that term appears. Put it in quotes. What's it called?
Okay, Interply, INTERPLY. If you search on that word.
Yeah, there won't be many instances in there except yours.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm not seeing the comment or post here. So I don't know what the question is.
If he had a question, it hasn't come up yet. So here's one. What's that about? Seats down on one side for this toaster oven. No, I don't think that's it.
It might be in response to the 45-foot motorhome comment.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay.
Oh yeah, it is.
Kevin, we're gonna wrap this up pretty soon, so you better get your question in. If you want, otherwise you can email it to, what's your email, Roger? Is it
tireman9@gmail.
okay?
So you mean there's 8 other tire mans on Gmail who got emails before you, Roger? That's pretty amazing.
Yep.
Really? Well, I can see that. Guys that work at,
Well, I've had,
you know,
yeah,
the tire business.
guys that work at a tire shop and sell tires and stuff like that. So yeah, many years ago when I, got into the Gmail stuff, I started Tire Man and they said that doesn't work. And remembering one of the great sci-fi classics on Planet 9 and stuff like that, it turns out I just fell in love with Tire Man 9 and nobody had it. So I have stuck with it.
Yeah.
There's Stephanie with RV Weekenders here. Stephanie, go to rvtravel.com. Sign up for our just for our weekend newsletters. RVtravel.com. Let's see if I can find it here. It's right along the bottom. And sign up for our weekend newsletter or any of the others, and you'll be informed when we do these. But the plan is to do them every Saturday at 8 a.m. Pacific, with the members of our staff. This one was just we've done them in the past, but we're just I want to seriously start them back up on Saturday mornings. So,
By the way, Roger,
they'll be on Facebook and YouTube. That's where they'll actually appear, where you can chat with us. Let's see.
Kevin weighed in with his question.
Oh, he did. Okay.
Yeah.
Let's see if I've got it here.
Here we go. Go ahead, read it, Roger.
Okay, fifth wheel, manufacturer spec out, E-rate tire, several friends upgrade. G, what are the advantages, disadvantages? Okay, the load range E, this alphabet E, A, B, C, D, E, F, G, etc., replaces ply rating, because ply rating was misleading because you'd have 2 for 6, etc. Anyways, so go up in the alphabet is more ply rating, stronger tire. You will only get the load capacity of a load range G if you inflate to load range G inflations. Kevin, the best thing I can suggest you do, send me an email, tireman9@gmail.com, and I'll go over the details. I mean, this is an offer for anybody. I'll go over the details of what you need to do when you provide me, a few bits of information that I need. But I'm happy to do this.
Yeah,
So,
and Roger, all of you, Roger is a regular contributor to RV Travel. So if you go to rvtravel.com, subscribe /subscribe, and get on our weekend newsletter, and then the daily tips. That's every day. That's just full of tips. Really good information. And by the way, we're now in our 22nd year of publishing. We were one of the very first, and we're still at it. I think we're still publishing a few hundred newsletters a month, all about RVing. So it's pretty, a lot of information. We'll be closing in on our 20,000th story article here, probably sometime later this year. That's a lot.
Chuck, I have a request.
Yeah.
Can you, before the next version of this, do a little research and figure out the advantages, disadvantages of coming in on Facebook or YouTube so that we can do the comments live?
What do you mean do the comments
Well,
live?
right now I don't know how to. I've got a thing telling me I got to sign up to YouTube if I want to put a comment in.
Oh,
but you're saying Facebook will do that too. So
maybe you have, I'll look into it, Roger. I'll see what, you should be able to do a comment, but then again, what I try to do is bring up all the comments that are relevant, and then you can address them that way.
Yeah.
If you're in the studio as you are, then
yeah,
you can
because
address
this
them.
is asking me to connect. There's a connect button, but I got to connect through YouTube.
Oh, I guess you could
All right,
do
what
it.
is that scratching?
Yeah, I'm not sure where that's coming from.
What are we hearing?
Scratching.
Scratching from somewhere. Yeah.
There's no noise here. Well, it's almost time for us to leave for today. But listen, anybody want to just stressless camping? That's to go to Tony's site. Keith, let's get yours up here again because it's a little harder to.
It's a long URL.
It's a long URL. There it is. Old how do you say it?
Apocalypse. Yeah.
Say it.
Old Apocalypse.
Substack. People can sign up. It's free, or they can
free newsletter
support you. And you've got Keith has been. I've known Keith now for what, a few years, Keith, huh?
Yeah, yeah.
And he's written some articles for us. But I think this is going to be very interesting. He did a story on Mike Sokol, who's the RV electricity guru, recently that I thought was just so well written. And then Keith was nice enough to interview me here recently, and I suppose that'll be coming out one of these days on his site.
This week, yep. This week it'll
okay,
be.
I'll watch out. This is going to be. I'll get ready for all my fans to come out.
That's right. That's right.
Yeah. So Tony, Roger, anybody final thoughts? Anything?
I'm good. I liked it.
Yeah, I agree with what Roger said about checking your tires and the value of a TPMS. I'm very pleased with the ones we have, one for the truck and one for the trailer. And in theory, I can merge them, but I haven't.
And I would suggest on tires that anybody that's got dual tires buys extenders so you can get to that inside tire without having to climb underneath them. I always found it very difficult, but now we've got extenders on the inside tire that come right out. It makes it so easy. I hated, and I was awful about checking tire before that. It just was such a chore. Okay.
This has been so much fun, Chuck. I'm hoping that the people who are on will let other people know, let their friends know that this is going to be a regular Saturday thing, and let's grow this audience. This is really enjoyable.
Yeah, I'd like to. Hey, if I had my way, and any one of you want to talk to me about getting involved, I'd set this thing up and have it every single morning, and just have different hosts and just let people come on for an hour, 8 to 9. It's that's doable for Pacific time, and it's 11 o'clock Eastern, so people haven't gone off for the day. But I'm always ambitious that way. But I think we've got enough writers that somebody would be willing to come in. And thanks. We only had about 25 people on today, but it's the weekend, and I mean we had more than 25, but 25 at a time. So please come back, join us again next week. And I guess I'll end the broadcast. You guys can stay on for a minute, but I'll. So,
all right.
Adios,
bye, everyone.
Yeah. Okay. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye.